City Council on June 14th, 2021, adopted a report from the folks that invest Stratford. It was called a Roadmap for Attainable Market Housing Development. And essentially, it was not very similar to the one that was adopted, that was received again a month ago. But it essentially asked that council look into finding ways to give money and relief to developers to create something called attainable housing. Council asked them to come back with a definition of attainable housing, which they hadn't done. And these incentives that they were talking about giving developers would be in the guise of a community improvement plan. And a community improvement plan is a way around legislation that prevents councils from incenting developers. They're not allowed to give money away. But if they call it a community improvement plan, they can get away with it. So reduced or eliminated development charges, parkland dedication, and property taxes were among the things they looked at. There was also a suggestion that the city give away land to developers. By that, I mean at half price, but who knows what half price would be. Then the city asked for funding from the government, the provincial government gave them funding to do this study. And it was funding from the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs. What they've got to do with housing is beyond me, but that's who gave them the money. And Stratford agreed in March of 2022 to this contract with the Ministry of Agriculture, Food, and Rural Affairs. Then in May of 2022, we see a definition of attainable housing from Invest Stratford. And I'm not going to read the whole thing, but basically it says attainable housing is housing that is affordable to the level of income of the household. Not affordable generally, just how much money do you have? This is what you can afford. Available, so it's on the market. Appropriate, meaning it's big enough. And actionable, in that it's an option that a household can put into action. There was absolutely no reference whatsoever to the level of availability or affordability or anything like that. So I asked several times the Invest Stratford director, Joni Gerber, isn't this market housing? And she kept saying, no, it's this, but it is market housing. If you can afford it and you can buy it, that's market housing. There was no reference whatsoever to anything else. Then on May 8th, there was a new report from Invest Stratford. And now they've defined attainable as being 90% of market. And as I pointed out to them at the meeting, 90% of this year's market, of last year's market, is exactly this year's market. So if you had given a whole bunch of incentives to developers last year, they could sell market at a profit. They could sell at a bigger profit, because even though they'd gotten all these incentives, all this money from the city, the market itself had shifted so that 90% was now today. They also, in this report, redefined affordable as 80% of market price or market rent. Right now, Stratford has a bylaw that says affordable is no more than 30% of a person's income, or a household income. And woe betide them if they adopt this new definition, because that's 80% of market is unreachable for most and is not affordable for anybody. The province then, at the same time that Invest Stratford was doing this, the province introduced a new definition of affordable housing and called it 80% of market price. They also set out the term attainable in the legislation, but they didn't really define it. They just said it's not rental, and it's housing that is at arm's length between buyer and seller. But then I assume they're going to define it later, but they haven't yet. And in fact, that portion of the law is not yet law. The most egregious thing just happened, which is that the province has proposed a new provincial policy statement for land use, including housing. And in that proposed provincial policy statement, they have removed the definition of affordable. The policy statement used to say that affordable was 30% of income. Now they're going to take it out. And we have an extra 60 days. We have until the middle of August to comment, should anyone want to comment, and Sharon will put the link on the website, I'm sure, so that people can see it. Therefore, the only definition left of what is affordable is the one from Bill 23 that says it's 80% of market. So it's completely unaffordable for most if it's 80% of market. When rents for a one-bedroom apartment are now $2,400, 80% of that is still $2,100. How's anybody going to afford that? It's just, it's crazy. And it's not affordable to somebody who, unless they're making $70,000 or $80,000 a year. And if they want to buy a house, they need to have about, I think, $160,000 a year of income, even to buy something that's labeled affordable or attainable. Stratford did not, interestingly, they did in like 2 years ago, they adopted the report. This time they said, we're receiving it for information. So in my view, that means they didn't actually adopt the new definition proposed to them of 80% of market as being affordable. They received it for information, asked senior staff to work on it. And they also have not indicated that they intend to repeal the existing affordable housing bylaw, but who knows what this council will do. What this all means is we have a big dog's breakfast of proposals and definitions from both the province and the city. We're no closer to building truly affordable housing. The bylaw is in conflict with the existing bylaw, is in conflict with as yet unenacted provincial definition. The proposals that Joni Gerber is putting together are now significantly reduced or eliminated due to the provinces giving builders a free ride on development charges. That was the other part of Bill 23. If a builder builds attainable or affordable housing, they don't have to pay the city anything. They don't have to pay any development charges. They don't have to pay parkland dedication. And those two things were part of what Joni was putting in her toolkit. So those have been taken away. The only really good news that I could see in that Invest Stratford proposal, and it's existed for the last 2 years, is the option for council itself to build affordable housing, which would be significantly cheaper than any developers building it. And others smarter than me are going to talk later about what other options that the city should put forward.